welcome to this episode of Destined to Remembered. Regularly scheduled for about an hour ago. Anthony loses his mind because nothing seems to work in the studio, but now we're back. And I am so excited because realistically, I haven't had these two guys in the same room with me in quite a while. And actually, I mean, yeah, as you can tell, the podcast hasn't been as heavily, but we're back into it because right around the corner, we have Pearl Jam. And what the thing and the topic we're going to be talking about tonight with Dave from livefootsteps.org and Randy from Live on Four Legs Podcast. I got the point.
We need to be taped more.
Yeah. Is that they're doing something unique, and it's something I think that we've actually talked about in the past about this, is that they're going to one location and they're going to be playing multiple shows at that location. And it's something Pearl Jam has done in the past. And tonight we're going to be focusing on that. The goods, the bads, our opinions on it, and some stats and facts that you're not going to get anywhere else except here on this show, and mostly because of the genius, the time, and the talent because of Dave at livefootsteps.org that takes all of this random facts and puts this shit together. And if you're listening in the background, we have My Morning Jacket, Squid Ink, which in my opinion should have been a Pearl Jam song, and they dropped the ball on that, but that's just my opinion. All right. We're live now. All righty, we're here. Let's before we get into things, let's just ask the simple question. Is everyone okay now?
In terms of what?
I just listen, between the world, this fucking podcast, how it's starting off, and just the State of the Union. I guess this is our State of the Union address, which I plan on being better than last night's. Is everyone okay? I just want to check in on everybody.
I've had a really shitty winter. I'm not gonna lie. I've been dealing with sciatica pain, which is I'm on the back end of now. I've been dealing with the IRS. I've been dealing with other bills that have come and been shoved down my throat. Car shit, having to take a child to the ER shit. He's okay. But everything seems to just be falling in place at the wrong time. And also kind of, I can't say anything because I live in Syracuse, but I've only lived here for 2 winters now, and last year wasn't that bad. I lived a pretty bad winter here where I, especially not being able to walk very well, I couldn't do a whole lot, and it was just very demotivation. What kind of word am I looking for there?
Demotivated?
Unmotivated.
Not good. How's that sound? How about not good?
Terrible.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. But
Dave,
look, we're on the back end now, I hope.
That's right. The real question is, Dave, are you doing okay?
Oh no, did we lose his audio?
No. You just were talking. What happened? Oh, no, I can't hear him. Jesus Christ, I give up. I fucking
Damn.
No, here I am.
There we go.
Okay.
There we go. Woo. I literally was about to throw this iPad across the fucking screen. I was done.
I wanted to see your reaction. No.
Oh, is that what it was? I think you heard mine for a while.
No. 2025 for me for myself has been okay. My family, not so much. My father has been in and out of the hospital. We had talked about this before. He has Parkinson's, and you've done, great things with with touring Fan Live and everything with Parkinson's and everything like that. My dad's been in and out of the hospital, in and out of rehab and stuff like that. So it's been a crazy 2025 right now. I was spending a lot of time with him, but other than that, doing okay.
Well, let's use this evening as a hopeful jumpstart into what potentially could be the start of something good and new. How's that sound?
I like that.
I like that too. We'll use calm words and voices to move us into the right way, I think. As I'm saying this, as I'm trying to share us across platforms because this app doesn't want to share it anywhere anymore. Anyway, but we're here. So let's look into this. We're not far off from Pearl Jam playing their first set of shows. multiple nights in one location. And I think for most of us, as we get older, I think it benefits a little bit because it's easier to plan. If you do 2 locations, you get 4 shows instead of doing 2 locations, getting 2 shows. But then again, it gets to the point where it's a little bit different than it used to be. So let's go right into the first topic here. That the tour is happening in less than 2 months. And I feel like the buzz for this is a lot less not desirable, the word I'm looking for, but not as hot as the other tours. I don't feel as much buzz going around it as it did last year or the year previous. I feel as though it's a lot quieter. I don't think Pearl Jam's pushing it nearly as much. Even on SiriusXM's radio station, I don't feel as though I hear as many commercials for the shows. And I just feel as though maybe with them playing a limited amount and then most people are doubling up and the way it works, I just feel like maybe this is this something bad or negative, or maybe we're just overthinking it. Randy, I'm going to go to you first on this. With all of the things around Pearl Jam, especially in the community, and how Pearl Jam plays, you're definitely at the front of it. We're doing a lot with social media. How do you feel right now the buzz is for this tour leading up to it just being 2 months away?
I feel like it doesn't quite have the energy that last year had. And I think what happens is 2024, you get a new album and you get a pretty big tour, pretty massive. They go and do 4 total legs, the European leg included in that, even though that's like 6 shows, not even, but still they go and they do a lot of stuff. And I think nowadays what everybody's kind of concerned with is that we can't do Pearl Jam the same way like we used to. And what I mean by that is that because of these double shows in certain locations, I'll get to the locations in just a second, but usually when you'd get 2 shows in the past, they'd be on like a Thursday, Friday night, and you get like one before the other. We're going to talk about double shows a lot later. And then what happens is that you have the day off in between, and then you have like 2 or 3 days off in between cities. So for those that really love to go and travel along with this band from place to place, that's a lot of added expenses to be, for food, for hotels, for everything, for driving or transportation, like everything. You can't do this comfortably anymore. And really what they're trying to force you to do is pick 1 or 2 locations and that's it. Because really it's tough to do anything else. I don't know a single person, and I'm sure they're out there. I bet they're out there, but in my circle, I don't know anybody that's going to all 11 of these shows. It seems like even though it's 11, it seems like too much because of the total amount of days that it takes to get through all this. And, I think that kind of deflates a little bit of the fun that we know of these tours to have. And right now, I think I don't know if this is like a hangover from last year and we're kind of like, usually Pearl Jam takes like a full year before they're back at it, So and also they announced this in December, which was absolutely no time since the November tour in Australia ended. So like we didn't even have like that period of time to be like, oh, well, here are the rumors and like, will they, won't they? And we're waiting. There was no waiting period. It just kind of happened. So I think a lot of that goes into it. I think that the locations are an issue too. And I don't say that for local people because I think I think it's great because I think the people are finally getting, the Florida people and the Atlanta people and the North Carolina people are finally getting shows in their territory. And it's felt like a very long time since that happened. Some of those shows are very, very tough to get tickets to right now. Pittsburgh, especially. Pittsburgh is a great city for Pearl Jam. And I wish that I can go to one of those shows. Unfortunately, I can't, even though I had purchased tickets for night 2. I had to give those to friends, but we'll get into that later. I think what happens is that you go outside of what's happening locally. These are not great places that people are very excited to make destination spots.
I
You
agree
know,
with you.
the one place that I'm excited to be in, Hollywood, Florida, because the Hard Rock venue is a small venue. It's 7,000, but that's the problem there is that people might want to go to Florida. That's kind of a vacation trip, but it's so hard to get tickets. And I lucked into tickets for both nights. I happened to have a friend. I didn't win them, but I had a friend that couldn't make it to night two. So I took his tickets for night two. And then I knew somebody else that had tickets for night one that was looking for a partner. So I lucked into it. But, you know, I'm only going to Raleigh because I have a wedding in North Carolina that week. I lucked into that. Like, that was nothing but perfect timing, even though it's 4 hours away from the wedding. Thankfully, the flights to Raleigh are a lot cheaper than the flights to Asheville or Charlotte. So I got that going for us. But, like, you know, Nashville, nothing wrong with Nashville at all. But I had no interest in going back to Nashville because I went there 3 years ago. I like Nashville. There's nothing wrong with Nashville. I'm sure a lot of people would be very excited to go to Nashville. I know a lot of people that are going to Nashville, but like when I want to go to a show, I want to go to a place that's fresh for me. This is a travel opportunity too. You know, like
I totally agree with you on that. And the big thing we have to look at as well, and you made a great point, is when traveling to these shows, okay, it's not like you're doing back to back. This isn't like Philadelphia '09 where they did, you know, a huge run of shows. You could see multiple shows in an evening. This isn't like, you know, this is eerily similar to 2016 when it really started, in my opinion, where they started doing, you know, stadium shows, and then it was like they had a break in between them. But I also think that financially it makes the most sense for Pearl Jam because they're now, if you're talking about 11 shows, if they did 11 shows and they did it across 11 different states or 11 different venues, you're moving equipment, the cost of moving equipment, the cost of having to pay people in different hotels. Because if you do one night in a hotel or a bus or however it is, it's more expensive. Or if you're in one location, multiple nights, it's a little bit cheaper. The other thing, too, that I want to bring up before I turn this over to Dave to kind of get his opinion about this is, so looking over today, I was looking at flights coming out of the Kansas City area, which is a major city market. So we have direct flights everywhere, okay? And looking at all these locations. So Hollywood, Florida, flights were pretty affordable. Round trip, if you did, you know, left the day of in the morning and left the 27th, it was like $380 round trip. Atlanta, Georgia was the cheapest. That was $189 round trip. New Orleans was really expensive. It was a $680 round trip. Nashville, Tennessee was kind of expensive too at like $560, and Raleigh, North Carolina was $420. Pittsburgh was about $420 as well. So, but if you think about this, the one thing that changes that number a little bit is back when I used to do like 2013, I went to almost the entire tour. When I look at even like 2006, when I did multiple shows in the tour, there was many times that I would, you know, fly in to go see him, and then I would fly home. Like there was no hotel attached to it. It was flying in the morning, go watch him, turn around, head out. And that was kind of the cost efficient side of it. Whereas like you can pay $200 for, you know, a round trip, whatever case may, stay a little bit in the airport and then bounce out, where you can't do that anymore. And the other thing I want to say before I turn this over to Dave is, as a family person, you know, especially with all of us having younger children, the more time you take away from them and you're missing out on things, especially the day in between, the less you can do. So while you can potentially do like Raleigh and Nashville and you're seeing 4 shows, in theory, you're talking about an extended time of 6 days, which is 2 full days of missing out of time, where back in the day, you literally could do multiple things. So that's an interesting theory as well. Dave, when you look at this 11 shows and you start thinking about how different it is and how soon they've kind of come out and tour since they toured last year, what are your overall thoughts and opinion about this?
Well, they haven't really done a whole like Southern tour in quite a while. And I don't have the numbers on this, but I would have liked to see the attendance in past years for these Pearl Jam shows and see why they haven't come back in so many years to the Southern tier states and stuff, to see what their thinking is. I mean, it's been quite a while for Atlanta. And then like I want to know what their numbers tell them. You know, why you know, we did, you know, the out west, we did the Northeast. The furthest north they're going to go is Pittsburgh. I mean, that's the one I wish I can go to, but everything else is so far south. I don't know if they really have or really see that much of a fan base anymore down there. I mean, they've yes, they do Florida and stuff like that, but is that the reason why they're doing the Hard Rock? Such a small venue. I mean, they saw some things when they were out in the UK. Some of these festivals. What are they thinking?
That's a great point. And the other thing too, and I kind of want to pick your brain on this, Randy. So that they weren't filling arenas in Australia. Like it wasn't as successful, which is surprising to me, as like how the Foo Fighters played out there or other bands. It seemed like we thought, and I remember we talked about this, they're going to go to Australia, they're going to kill it. It's going to be sold out night after sold out night after sold out night after sold out night. And it seemed like it wasn't. And then it kind of was the trend when they went to Europe where, I mean, it was scary if they actually played Tottenham Hotspur Stadium because it seemed like they were trying to give everyone tickets. Like, please come. And that's scary because is the fan base getting old? Is the fan base just they don't want to travel nearly as much? Is it the fact that travel's so expensive? Is it the fact ticket prices are so expensive? There's so many questions to be had about this, but in my opinion, real quick, I think that I understand like Hollywood, Florida, 7,000 seat venue. There's probably going to be I think that's going to be the show of the tour, in my opinion, those two. I think that one's going to pull the most. Atlanta, just because it's due, you'll never catch me in Atlanta. New Orleans, it's a festival show, so you know what you're gonna get there. And then you have Nashville, which I'm only doing one night in Nashville. And then you have Raleigh, which everyone keeps saying, oh, well, Raleigh's due. Well, Raleigh was due back in 2016. You're talking about 9 years later. So a remake of a show that it's too far away to say this is they're just due. It's just this is kind of how it worked out. And realistically, Raleigh, North Carolina, that location is in the middle of nowhere. It's not in the city. It's outside the city. There's nothing to do around the venue. It's going to be hard. It's going to be a hard sell for people to hang around there because you're going to have to get a hotel further away from it because if you get one close to the venue, there's nothing to do. And then you got Pittsburgh, which I think is going to be the most popular one because of the fact that it is the closest one to your New Jersey, New York, Boston, New England rabid fans. They're gonna rush that, and I think that's where you're going to see the most expensive tickets on this tour. So the bookends of this tour. But realistically, like me personally, I'm not nearly as excited about this tour as I have been for any of the Pearl Jam tour leading up to this because I just don't know what this tour is going to do. And is it just the same stage set, the same set list? Is it just in new locations? And that's where I'm at right now. Randy, I'll let you if you have anything else you want to say before we move on to topic 2.
Yeah, I can say something else. I mean, you were talking about Tottenham Hotspur Stadium before. A lot of what I got from the people that had tickets to that show and were rightfully kind of mad at the ticket prices is that it was what felt like nearly double the price from the Hyde Park shows 2 years beforehand. And I think that they got a little bit too overzealous that they booked 2 great shows there and thought that they could do that again. But the problem is that right after COVID in 2022, you had a lot of people outside of Europe also coming in and going to those shows. I didn't know a whole lot of people that went over to the Barcelona shows. I know a couple, but it wasn't anywhere close as it has been in the past couple of years. So I feel like from all over the place, there was a little bit of a fatigue of like, okay, they're coming back here, but also they have to fill 40,000 seats in a place that it's going to be almost 2 times more expensive to be in. And like people just were not very, they weren't happy with it. It was a gamble. It was a gamble. And I think unfortunately, what happened. They had to cancel some shows, and I would have really liked to see what they would have been able to do in Berlin in that stadium. I think that would have just been. I mean, it's a gorgeous, gorgeous amphitheater. So hopefully they get to go back, and I know they like it there. Or they actually love it there, so they will go back there. But I would not be surprised if the Florida thing, booking at the Hard Rock was a reaction to that, because you got to think the last time they were in Florida was 2016 and they played 4 different venues. One of them was Miami, another one was Fort Lauderdale, they had Jacksonville and Tampa. These are not Pearl Jam hotbeds. I'm just going to throw it out there.
Exactly.
I don't know what the crowd situation was like, but I would assume that if they decided they were going to go down to Florida, they didn't want to waste a ticket. And that's why we have what we have. But also, I just couldn't go back to some of these locations too. As I mentioned, I have a wedding the week of Raleigh, and I couldn't make night 1. So I'm only doing night 2, which is a Tuesday. I can't imagine what night 2 on a Tuesday in Raleigh is going to be like. It just, if night 2 in Philly on a Monday was kind of underwhelming, there's not a lot of Saturday shows on this tour. We have this night 2 of Hollywood is Saturday, and then I shouldn't even say night, because it's the Jazz Fest show is a Saturday as well. Like most of these shows are Tuesday, Thursday, which is just kind of like, you can go to these places, but a lot of people are looking to get away for the weekend, and they just can't in this instance. And it's unfortunate.
Well,
it really is unfortunate.
A lot of these venues are hockey arenas. Okay. So that's one thing. The other thing too is you're spending a lot less renting a venue of that size on a Tuesday and a Thursday than you are a Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Well, of course.
So I honestly feel as though this is a feeler. Maybe this is where the band's going. Listen, Eddie has made it clear in even in interviews talking about the prices. There was a question brought to him like, "Hey, fans have complained about ticket prices," and he's like, "Ticket prices are ticket prices." Like that's kind of it. That in a nutshell. Like it didn't seem like he, Pearl Jam is a business, and for anybody that sees it outside of that, then you're kind of fooling yourself. This isn't Eddie Vedder of 1991. This isn't Mike McCready and Stone Gossard and Jeff Ament, the people that fought against Ticketmaster. This is family people that they love what they're doing. I'm not saying that they don't care, but in the same sense too, it's got to come to, it's got to make sense. I mean, they own a huge warehouse up in Seattle. They got to pay for. They have, employees they got to pay. They also got to make sure they're making money at the long end. And I think they lost money, especially over these last few tours, when they traveled to some places and didn't get the response they were hoping for. And I mean, this tour is selling well. It is. I mean, most shows are sold out, from my understanding. But this isn't the Pearl Jam that was playing. It's tough because you say Madison Square Garden. If they played 2 nights in Madison Square Garden on Tuesday and Thursday, it's going to sell out.
Yeah.
But if they play 2 shows in Kansas City on a Tuesday and Thursday, I don't know if it's going to sell out. Just because of location. And that's, I think, where Pearl Jam is. Pearl Jam's biggest fan base are always going to be the Pacific Northwest, California, your Chicago areas, your Northeast, that whole New England area. Massachusetts, Tuesday, Thursday, it sells out. Connecticut, Tuesday, Thursday, it sells out. Pittsburgh, Tuesday, Thursday, it's going to sell out. Long Island, Tuesday, Thursday, New York, all those things. But when you start getting into these random places, like a Raleigh, North Carolina, that's when it gets questionable. And I think that's going to be a questionable thing. And like I said, they're always going to have their fan base. I would say 60% of the fans are going to go to that show. Most of us can say we've seen them at least once or twice at a show before because they follow really well. That's just how the Pearl Jam fans are. But in the grand scheme of things, I feel as though, like I said, just not so excited about this. But we've been sitting on topic 1 for a little bit. Let's go to topic 2. Why don't you jump us into that, Dave?
So everybody goes to see Pearl Jam because, they mix it all up. They play so many different songs. They're the masters of putting together a set list from pulling from all different albums. But they have a new album that just came out, so they put nearly 25% of their songs during this tour. 24.5% was from Dark Matter. And they had them chunked up in these sections, which is something I don't think they've ever done before either, where there's like, okay, this will just play it all, get it out of the way, and then go to everything else. So are we going to see a drop off? I certainly think they will. We already saw them towards the end of the tour being like, okay, let's peter this. Let's break it up. Let's put one song here, two songs there, instead of one big chunk. Do you think they're going to stick to something like that? What do you guys think? Like, are they going to stick with these chunks? Are they going to start adding other albums into chunking it together? Or do they like this thing? Or was it just a Dark Matter thing? Because of the way it flows, and what do you guys think?
I think getting into the rhythm of the Dark Matter songs very early on in 2024, I think helped them. And you got to think, like, something that I didn't mention in the last topic is that they're older. They are definitely getting older. So they need a little bit more repetitiveness in their sets for them, especially early on in the tour. They have to feel comfortable going in. Like those two first Hollywood shows, they'll probably be pretty good shows, but I wouldn't be surprised if they have a lot of same songs, because it might take them a little bit to be like, okay, we're comfortable with this batch. Now we can move on to the next batch. And I'm sure there'll be songs, that they'll know that there's a song that's a dedication that they're going to have to do at the time, and they'll practice it in the warehouse beforehand or something like that. But, once you get to like Raleigh or Nashville, they're going to say to themselves like, all right, we feeling Rival tonight? Yeah, okay, let's try and sound check. And I'm throwing out a random song here, probably the most random of the random. But I think that, yes, what would you average from that 25% that would be songs per night? Around like 6 or 7? Does that sound right?
Well,
yeah, about that.
Averaging about 20 songs a show, 22 songs a show. So you figure that's like, you're looking at that probably 6 to 7, I would assume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it goes down a little bit to 4 to 5. I think that what happens is that you see the songs like Dark Matter and Wreckage and Waiting for Stevie and React Respond kind of stick around, because I feel like they got very comfortable with those. I feel like that those 4 especially, with Setting Sun added in on that, but it feels like they're kind of drifting away from Setting Sun, which no. Let's not do that. Let's not drift away from Setting Sun. But it felt like in Australia, they were just kept crossing it off set list. So I feel like they'll go back to some of those standards. And then one night you'll be like, here's Upper Hand night. Here's the running night where you're going to get running, and they'll disperse some of those songs. Like I would not be surprised if running got on 2 or 3 of the shows of the 11, while Wreckage was probably going to be on either 10 or 11 of those shows. Dark Matter is probably going to be on 10 or 11. Scared of Fear probably more like 6 or 7, somewhere around there. But like, what are we going to see with Got to Give? I would think that maybe they would try it early to see if they have something with it. I would hope so, because that's the last one that I need from the record. So hopefully in the first 2 shows, they say, try it out. I'm also very just kind of, I need to figure out that song a little bit more than I have right now, because that I think is one of the things on tier list and shit that people were like, oh, you don't Got to Give them. Like, I don't know if I don't like it. I just need to experience it, and them not using the lyrics for half the song and not revealing what those lyrics are definitely kind of, it doesn't make it as intimate of a song. It makes it more of a mystery. But I digress. Like some of those songs I think will be interspersed a little bit less frequently, because Upper Hand probably, out of 5 shows will get 3 of the 5. I think out of 5 shows it probably gets 1 or 2 on this tour. So
you got to think about too that there's 3 songs in general off of Dark Matter that really weren't heavily played at all. I mean, we Got to Give at only 2, Something Special only got played 7 times, and then really Won't Tell only got played 11 times. And it really wasn't until towards the end of the tour where Waiting for Stevie got that fan love, Because I mean, it really wasn't a heavily played song, and then I don't think Pearl Jam felt as though that song was going to be such a big fan favorite. And also, like, outside of the fan, I mean, when you listen to a lot of the interviews that the band has done over the last 2 years, a lot of people talk about how great of a song that is, and the fact that, like, you know, it's been something, that riff has been something that's been sitting in Eddie's hand since what do you say? Since No Code, I think he's had that riff he's been goofing around with. So I think Waiting for Stevie honestly is the golden ticket from this album, in my opinion. I think it's almost the most perfect song off the album. It should be played more. But Got to Give and Something Special, to me, are two songs that didn't get played. I think they deserve the play. I hope they get played. But once again, we're talking about a small number. We're talking about 11 shows. And the only savior in this whole 11 shows is half those shows. So one of them's a festival. Remove that, okay? You know you're not going to get a lot of craziness out of that festival, especially being Jazz Fest and being like the majority of people going to Jazz Fest are going for the abundance of musicians that are going to be there because the lineup is amazing, okay? So now we're talking about 10 shows. And realistically, it's 5 locations. So you're talking about 2 shows because that's what this topic about this evening is. 2 shows, 1 location. Are we going to have it where, because if you think about it, if they're playing 6 or 7 Dark Matter songs on each night, majority of the people going to night 1 are going to go to night 2. In theory, they could, literally play the whole album 5 times across 2 shows. You see, you know what I'm saying? Like, they could do it. If they don't repeat themselves, they could kind of do this blocking like we were talking about, where night 1 is going to be a couple, your Wreckage, and then night 2 is going to be more of your, I don't know, react, respond, and then fill-ins. That, it's crazy to think, but if they wanted to give the album out and have everyone hear it and give it what it's supposed to, everything should be played 5 times this tour, in my opinion. Like, when you talk about that bulk of 10, that'd be my opinion. But realistically, I'm going to throw something even a bigger curveball about this tour. And I'm going to go to Dave and see what he thinks, because he's the stats and numbers guy. I think we're going to see a massive drop-off of Dark Matter on this tour. I think this is going to be the bridge to the new album. I think we're going to see 3 songs at most from Dark Matter on most show nights. And if you get a 4th song, it's going to be like that Got to Give or Setting Sun. It's going to be something that's... But realistically, I think you're going to get the hodgepodge of craziness that fans have been asking for since COVID, of the bulk of craziness. And I think that's what these shows are going to be. I think Pearl Jam has to do it, in my opinion. If you want this tour to work and not have people, when you announce new shows for either the fall or for next year, go, oh, I don't know if I really want to see the same show over and over again. Because the one thing that Pearl Jam has that all these other bands don't have is that every show is different. This isn't like 9 Inch Nails where every show is the same. This isn't like Foo Fighters where they get to a part of the show and they say, man, this is one of those cities where I like to drink and I got a story for you. And it's the same story, just a different city name in that story. This is literally you living in the moment. So in my opinion, I hope for the sake of this tour, for the 10 nights they play in the 5 cities they play in, minus the festival, of course, is that you're going to get a concert A and a concert B that is one complete concert over 2 nights. Dave?
So historically, with the numbers, after a album year, the next year, there's at least a 10 to 15% drop in the amount of play of the previous album. Like, then they start adding in other things that they missed out. They always add more back in from 10, from verses, they start evening it out. But, it normally has quite a big, 10 to 15% drop the next year, even more the year after that. And then, how many years between we had albums, it's been quite a while. Well, before Gigaton and now with Dark Matter, Dark Matter actually came out pretty quick compared to Gigaton, compared to all the other ones. But like, it's pretty, I'm looking at the numbers right here and it's pretty consistent with 10, and you got these peaks with like Gigaton, and now you got a peak with Dark Matter. So yeah, I think with 25%, you're going to be getting like maybe 15 to, do I dare say 12% of this year is going to be Dark Matter songs.
Okay.
And if you think of, 12% out of 25 songs, you're not going to get too many. So, yeah, you're definitely going to have a drop off.
Okay. No,
Are we going to have anything new though? Are they going to pull in anything? You think? Do they have a Trevor Trove of stuff that
they do, but I don't think, because that was one of the topics that we probably talked about in 2023, is that we knew that was going to be the end of Gigaton, RIP pretty early, but I thought that maybe we would get a preview for something that was in the can for Dark Matter, and we didn't. And I think that those years are long gone. I can't remember the last time that they really did that. It might have even been like Gone from Avocado. I think that something like The End was played at an Ed Solo show, and honestly, Rivercross was played in an Ed Solo show too. So, we had that, but we didn't know that would become a Pearl Jam song. We thought that was just something that Ed wrote on his own. But yeah, I don't know. It's tough. It's tough to say.
It is. All right, Randy, why don't you lead us into topic number trace?
Okay. All right. This is a fun one. This is one I've been thinking about and talking about for a while. Mentioned it on the pod and everything like that. So this is, now you have to think about the way that the shows are being structured. And the structure, as we talked about, the night one and the night two, there's a little bit of time in between where you're not going back-to-back shows on back-to-back nights. So the night one versus night two conversation has kind of completely blown up. I think historically, everybody seems to say, oh, well, night two is the show that you got to be at. And I think that's pretty fair to say that. I'm not saying every single night one prior to a couple of years ago was better than, or every single night two is better than its night one. There are a lot of great night ones that probably don't even get the credit that they deserve over the last 20 years or so. But here's the thing. You want to look at some of the trends that have happened since, I'm going to go back to even 2022 a little bit here. And this is pretty subjective because everybody's going to have a different list, but I have polled people, I've talked to people, and for the majority of who I've talked to, who I consider pretty knowledgeable Pearl Jam fans, they happen to agree with me that night ones, those shows are starting to be more impactful than their night two shows. I think about, and this could be arguable, but I think about the Hyde Park show. I like night one better than night two. There's some great stuff in night two, but I personally like night one a little bit better. That's the one example from 2022 that I think kind of comes to my mind. But 2023, there's a couple. St. Paul night one, I think, is better than St. Paul night two. Chicago night one, I think, is better than Chicago night two. And I think there are some people that disagree with me on that. I think Chicago night one is a top 3 show that I've ever been to. I hold it in that high of a regard. It was a hometown show, a lot of stories being told, a lot of reasonings why songs got played. It felt like you got a piece of the band in that. It was special to me. It felt special being there. You go to last year. I'll start it off. Vancouver, night one was a Saturday, night two was a Monday. The Saturday show was better because I think there was a lot more anticipation going into that, the what's, the hows, and all the new songs and how they were going to sound. And I think, of course, they impressed people and that got on people's minds, but they came out on night two and it didn't quite land the same way that night one landed. And then you go to other places. Vegas, night one was a better show than night two. LA, a lot of people kind of have them kind of back to back, it can go either way. I think night one was better in LA. I think night one was better in Seattle. I think night two was great in Seattle, but I think night one was the show out of the two of them, the one that I'll go back to. We have a choice to do that on the podcast in a couple of weeks, and I picked night one over night two. And then you go to the one that's the best example that I can think of, and maybe all time, when you talk about night ones versus night twos, is Philadelphia. Philadelphia from this past year might be one of their best shows in the last decade. I think when we talk about the 2020s as a decade and we're trying to figure out what the top 10 shows are, that Philly show is going to come up and it's going to be either number 1 or number 2. And if it's number 2, it's because something special hasn't happened yet. I'll just put it out that way. Like, that's how good that show is. And that night, again, Saturday night, the set list choices, the crowd, everything that went into that show was a perfect mix of just getting the best out of Pearl Jam. And then you got night 2 on a Monday night. It kind of started off a little bit flatter than Saturday night did, and the set list wasn't as exciting, even though they told a couple of good stories with Alone and the people in the crowd with Rats. Like, there was some good stuff, of course, but I mean, it really does pale in comparison. And, you know, it's not a perfect science. I think that the MSG night 2 from this past year was better than the night 1. I think Wrigley night 2 from this past year was better than night 1. I'll even go Europe. I think night 1 Barcelona was better than night 2 Barcelona because there was a lot riding on night 1. Sydney was a night 2 show. Of course, that one, I think night 2 beats night 1. But it's different now because in the past, when you had night 1, night 2, you had them back to back. So it kind of felt like night 1 was a cliffhanger show. Where you were like, okay, you know, usually those shows ended with Indifference or it ended with one of the covers. And you're like, all right, well, we got what we got on this night. And then you can kind of compare. It's like, okay, if we got Better Man, but didn't get Jeremy, all right, we're getting that on night 2. And if that show was 30 songs and the next night was 30 songs, it's really one big 60-song show almost, because night 2, even if night 1 was incredible, they have to, you know, pick up from where they left off, and they have to, you know, raise the bar. And I don't necessarily think with a day off in between that there's any bar raising anymore. They're separate shows. They're separate entities. You can, while a lot of people are going to go to both shows, you can decide to go to one over the other almost. So the whole structure of conversation has changed here. And I'd be very, very interested to see what those trends are. And when, after the tour, I'm going to hold us to this, we're going to do and put every single location up. We're going to go night 1, night 2 for Hollywood, which one wins, night 1, night 2 for Nashville, which one wins. And, you know, that'll be a conversation for when that time comes, but I don't sleep on night 1s right now. That's all I'm saying.
I'm just going to say with the hard numbers, like I did some number crunching on some of these night 1s, night 2s and stuff like that. So it depends on your criteria, really. Like, what makes a better show? Like the songs that are played? Mm-hmm. Is it the rarity of the songs? Like, what are you looking for? And then, like, the people who weren't there, like, oh, I went to night 1. Oh, you missed night 2. Oh, I really wanted to go to night 2. That's even better. Like, once you see the set list, but you weren't there. So, but then if you're actually at both shows, you're like, okay, I'm at both shows, but night 2, you have repeats. Yeah. So you're cutting down on the amount of songs. So that, like, you're talking about Philly. So Philly last year, if you go by rarity, night 1 beats in rarity is better, but also with the Live Footsteps fans, night 2 had better songs by rankings. One has 27 songs, the other one had 26 songs, but you're repeating 4 on night 2. So what is your criteria, right? And it's always somebody that, you know, who's thinking up these numbers that weren't there. You know, and like they're trying to justify, you know, what was the good, what was the bad. But, you know, if you weren't there, you're like, oh, I wish I was there. You know, I missed out.
Here's a stat I'd love to know. How many people go to night 1 only planning on going to night 1 to only try to find a ticket for night 2? Because it is the FOMO of it. Because people are always going to go, and they're going to be, oh, man, I wish I'd go to night 2. Or if you have tickets to night 2, it's always the hype up of like it's got to be better than night one. Like and it's a lot of opinion based. And I know that this is what the show's about. We're all just giving our opinion about this, and that's kind of what it's all about in the grand scheme of things. But statistically speaking, like you're saying, it's back and forth, right? And I don't. And here's the thing too. And I've looked and I've listened to a couple of night ones over night twos over the last few weeks as I've been working out. I'm like, all right, let me see if I really feel like there's a huge either the band just is like not caring, or is it the set list is just not there, or is the crowd not into it? And I mean, I think the crowd plays a big factor into it too, because I do feel as though the band feeds off of GA. Like that is just, if you don't believe that, go to a show where the first three rows in GA are dead as a doornail. The band, if they can't feed off the energy of GA, like I just feel as though that affects the band. So it is interesting how the night one, night two factor is when it comes to the music side of things. And I do think it is interesting how the set list plays. I miss the days, like Randy said, where it was almost like you knew you were getting Indifference. You knew you were getting, if you were getting, maybe you were getting Rocking in the Free Roll, but you knew Yellow Ledbetter was night two. Like you knew that there was, Release was opening, but that's part A. Part B is going to be ending with Yellow Ledbetter. And that was what was so unique and different about Pearl Jam back then. And once again, listen, the band is not in their heyday. They're not in their young years. They don't have the ability or the energy. Fuck, we don't even have the ability or energy to do half the things that they can do now. I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, watching Mike run on a stage gets me fucking worked up, and I run as much as I possibly can. I am thinking, looking at night one, night two, like I said, I give you the blueprint, I believe, to make this tour successful, how they should do it. I think a lot's going to say Hollywood's going to be what we see in Hollywood's going to be at all the other shows. Like what we see night one, night two in Hollywood is going to be the blueprint for the other four. And like I said, I think we all can agree that New Orleans, they're going to throw one or two songs and are going to be like, oh man, I wish I was there for it. Because, it's the only festival they're doing the tour, which is interesting because based off of the rumor side of things, they were supposed to play that one festival in Charlotte. They were supposed to play that one festival in Dallas. And then I don't know what the hell happened to it. So there's all these rumors based on them playing these other festivals, which I think we're a little too late in festival season to fill in. But I guess we'll have to wait and see for that side. But in the grand scheme of things, don't miss out on a show if you have the ability to. And also, you will have FOMO if you go to night one and don't go to night two. And you'll even have more FOMO if you don't go to night one and only went to night two, because you're going to be like, fuck, I just missed that song the other night. So I guess that's how you look at it. Randy?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because I feel like I have FOMO for every show, Like, I went to...
But do you?
Kind of. I mean, like, I want to be there. I like experiencing it.
If you went to every single Pearl Jam show.
And your wallet is crying.
Yeah.
I would need a lot more Patreon donors to be able to do that. I will say
Randy,
that.
let me ask you this question for real. Okay, because we know that we all love Pearl Jam. We all if you went to every single Pearl Jam show, like that other lady that we know very well that goes to every single Pearl Jam show but doesn't know the words to all the songs. But if you went to every single Pearl Jam show, after a while, it loses something special, in my opinion.
Okay, here's what I'll say. I'm glad you brought that up because I have a couple of friends that did do that in GA, and it felt like after a while, I won't even say like being at the show was the drag, but like doing GA night in, night out. And like, these are people in their late 40s or, even in their late 30s, early 40s. Like, it takes so much out of you if you're going to do that lifestyle and sleep on concrete for 5 shows in a row. Yeah, you're going to have a show where you didn't have that great of a day,
Yeah.
I saw a situation that, I don't want to go too deep into it, but like, about like people and their places in line and like, somebody needing to go and shower for 5 minutes and being bitched out because they're not in their place in line. Like that's ridiculous stuff that you have to deal with. And it's just like, it's just in a sense kind of wrong.
Yeah.
You know, I wish that every single venue had the wristband that, okay, you can stay overnight and you can wait there overnight to be however close in line you are. But once you get your wristband at 9 o'clock, go to your hotel, go somewhere, go get a nap, be refreshed by the time you have to go wait back in that line at 3-4 o'clock.
Yeah.
Like, we shouldn't have to do this.
It's very
And
childish.
every venue is going to have a different way of going about it. But that's my thing, is that, yes, if you're going to all these shows, something is going to weigh on you, especially if you're away from home for that long. Someone's going to call you from home and be like, well, our toilet's not working. And then you're going to have to try to call somebody while you're online waiting on GA. And maybe you don't have tickets to that show because that happens. Like, there's a lot of shit that can fall on you when you're touring and everything else is happening outside your world. It's happened to me.
Yeah.
It's happened to me. I've had babysitters cancel on us. When I was in Chicago, we had a babysitter cancel on us. And I'm like, well, what do I do? My wife is like really upset about this. Do I just go back to the airport and go home?
Yeah.
And thankfully I didn't have to do that. And I like solved the issue really well. But those are things that just happen.
Yeah.
And I get that. I think less than like, being there at the show and not enjoying the show. I think it's just like everything outside of the show is just, it can get to you.
Whoever said growing up was a great thing lied to us. Whoever said owning a home was a great decision, they lied to us. Whoever said being a grown-up in general was an amazing decision in life, they are a fucking fool. If you cannot grow up, don't grow up. That's my advice for all you people listening. If you don't have the opportunity, if you have no kids and no wife, you just do it. If that's what you like. Now listen, I will say, I love my wife and kids, so I am good with my lifestyle. I'm actually looking forward to doing GA with my daughter, but I will not be waiting in line. I'm going to go and I'm going to do like I like to do now. I'm going to be dancing in the back. But we're going to move on to the next thing. I was just joking too. If you can get married, getting married is one of the greatest things you'll ever do, in my opinion. But that's for nor here nor there. My wife, watch my wife the first time she ever listens to the show. It'll be that one clip, and I will get harassed for it, which is fine. Then I'll tell her to rewind and listen to the rest. Anyway, Randy, we have something special.
We'll find that clip on social media.
Listen, Dave. Enough.
Heather.
I am done. I'm done with this shit. All right, Randy, tell us what we're about to watch, buddy.
Okay, so what you're about to watch took about 3 years of blood, sweat, and I don't know. I'll push it off and wait for later. So essentially what happened before the 2022 tour in May, I really wanted to be able to document everything that I was doing. And if you see me at shows, I usually have my GoPro on me and I'm usually doing interviews, or I'm just talking to people, or just kind of documenting what's going on around me, because that's sort of the thing I kind of really love doing. And one of before those shows in May, I was going to the Sacramento and the Vegas shows. So I really wanted to do, because I haven't seen this in full at the time. I wanted to do a full documentary of what it was like to travel, to go to Pearl Jam shows, and to be around people and to talk to people that, had been traveling with them and have been invested with the band. And I really wanted to make something special out of that. So I raised money, got a GoPro, and that was going to be the whole point of this film. However, I think the best documentaries happen when something goes awry in the middle of filming. That would have been great if, we went to Sacramento and went to Vegas, and we would have had stories to tell for sure. However, the story that we got to tell in this documentary was different, because we were not expecting, maybe in the back of our minds, because knowing that Cameron had been on the shelf a little bit, maybe we had a little bit of that, anything can happen and it can be canceled. But, it's a testament to the community that got together and stayed together during this time and celebrated life with each other as Pearl Jam fans. And that's what God's Dice Pearl Jam tour story is all about. We're going to show you a trailer right here, but next week, I believe on Friday, if you're not subscribed to the Live on Four Legs YouTube page, please subscribe because I'm putting stuff out there all the time, or at least trying to. But I think I'm going to release this next Friday as a full hour 26 long documentary. It has a lot of great stuff in it, and I'm very, very proud of it. So here is the trailer release of God's Dice. Why make a tour documentary? This tour is more special than all the rest because we've been waiting for this one for 2 years. And what we've seen so far is nothing short of incredible. This is a community that is unlike any other. How? One band can bring all that many people together. You ready to go see Pearl Jam tonight?
Hell yeah.
Let's fucking go! So we're in the car and we're going to Sacramento, but we're not doing anything.
What? Oh, man. Oh, jeez.
You know, it's not a surprise, right?
No.
We're rolling with it. We're Pearl Jam fans, and we just hope that everybody is healthy and safe and everybody gets well.
So what happens next?
I think we're going to Vegas. A lot of people are going to be there, so we're just going to make the best of it.
This fucked up situation calls for all hands on deck.
The community has just always got each other's backs.
This is exactly what happens when the Pearl Jam community is
So, oh shit, I didn't hit the button. Now there's a button. God, sorry. I thought I had a good mix right there. Wow, that looks pretty amazing. And you said this is been going on for how many years now?
I have been on and off editing this since the tour ended in 2022. So, I had a lot of footage that I had to go through, and the stuff takes time. I had to figure out how I wanted to tell the story. And then there were times for months where I was just like, I have other responsibilities. And even last year, I had taken tour documentary footage for just about everything that I was at, and I wanted to get that stuff edited and done because I was really proud of the stories that we told from there, and you were a part of some of those stories. It was just kind of one of those things. I wish that I could have put it out in 2022, but you know what? This could have been this is a good reminder of some things that happened back 3 years ago. And I think people, I don't know if it's going to be eye-opening to people, but I think people will enjoy it. I think people get a sense of, that this fan base is extremely, like a brotherhood, a sisterhood. We just came together during a time where a lot of us had spent a lot of money to travel across country for one reason. And a lot of people had canceled their trip, or a lot of people still made it to Vegas. I mean, it's still a trip to Vegas, so you're going to do something fun no matter what. But like, we put together the first edition of Pearl Jam Karaoke in Vegas, and it got such an amazing turnout of people that were just like, this is my weekend. Like, I'm so glad that Pearl Jam was in my weekend somehow, because if this wasn't happening, then they wouldn't be. So, I hope that what the story entails and all that. It was a great soundtrack too. Like, I was really proud of the soundtrack we put together for it. So, next Friday.
Wow.
Hope you guys are looking forward to it.
Are you going to be doing
Looking
like a
forward to
premiere where everyone can watch it together, or is this going to be something you just upload on YouTube?
TBD. I think I got some stuff next week that might kind of, I don't think I'll be able to do like a legit everybody come and join in the same room, but I could do a YouTube premiere. I don't know. We'll see.
If I don't get a sound clip of TBD, I don't know if I'm doing the show correctly. That is going to be on my soundboard tomorrow. That is my new TBD. All right. Well, I'm looking forward to it. And, I think and we've talked about this so many times on the show about what the community means. And I think we've beaten that with a broom. But I think seeing it visually and seeing the different people that don't put their face on social media and kind of getting that. And I mean, Dale's going to be in the video. Fucking Dale's everywhere. I mean, he might have been at every show that we talked about, even going overseas, but that's just Dale for you. I'm excited about it. I'm happy for you. I would say that you probably should put this up as an independent film so maybe you can get into the Oscars, because based off what won the Oscars the other day, this should fucking surely win.
Well,
that's
I
my
do
opinion.
use a lot of music that I'm not supposed to use, so that'll strike me down.
Just write Pearl Jam and tell me, do you a favor. Do me a solid. Do me a solid, guys. Do me a solid. All right. Let's go right into topic 4. We got to get this going. The show was supposed to be an hour and a half, like almost 2 hours ago, and I got a million things I got to do, but it is what it is. Topic 4. So, is this tour going to have like anything that pops out, right? This past tour, In My Tree, had to come back last year. Is there going to be a song potentially this tour that really hasn't been played in a long time that it's going to kind of just bring back things? I do think there is songs that need to return to the set. I don't understand why Gonna See My Friends is like Gonzo. I don't understand why they don't play that song. From my understanding, talking to musicians, it's not like it's a extremely difficult song to play. And these are, musicians that do this for a living. So you would think that they can play their own songs they wrote. But in the same sense, it could be like what Trent Reznor said about the Perfect Drug. Like, yeah, it was really easy to write in the studio, but playing that live and playing it as you get older, playing it that fast is almost impossible.
Go listen to that Philly version of Gonna See My Friend. Ed does not hold himself up very well.
Mm-mm.
He gets through it, but that's probably the reason why you haven't heard it.
That's tough. Well, in my opinion, I do think this is, if there's going to be an album that is going to be played a little bit more, in my opinion, this tour, maybe that wasn't played so much in the last tour. I think Riot Act's due. Like, I think Riot Act is such an overlooked album. I think it's due. There's such great gems on that. And with the state of the world we're in, there's a lot of songs on there that can really hold true to what's going on in the day and age right now, the state of the world. And I think that would be key. Which I have a question.
Remember, they're playing in all red states too.
Oh, that's right, because Pennsylvania flipped.
Yeah, I mean, I count that a little bit less of the red state because, like, at least Pittsburgh is a blue city, but the rest
is it
pretty red.
I thought that flipped.
No, it's.
I think most cities are blue.
Pennsylvania is a red state, or won the red state, but like Pittsburgh is like a known blue state, and I mean Raleigh's got like college towns and stuff like that. So I mean I'm sure that's blue too. Yeah, cities are usually blue, but like overall general sense, like there's not a lot of blue in Nashville or just in Tennessee. Certainly not a lot of blue in New Orleans or Louisiana either, and Florida's just kind of just sort of a lost cause.
Wow. Well, actually, Pittsburgh was much bigger than I thought it was going to be when it came to voting for Trump. Holy shit.
Well, I'll keep my opinions to myself, but
No, I totally understand. It's just when you look at these numbers sometimes, like I don't understand these things. And first of all, I don't even understand fucking politics. Like literally when politics come on, I put on a cartoon. Like I just would rather watch that. Like let me watch a mouse get hit over the head with a fucking baseball bat than whatever else going on in this world. But it's just the statistics for Pittsburgh from 2020 to 2024 is it's actually, those numbers are pretty they're pretty drastic. So, but anyway, moving on. So they are playing in red states. Got it. Moving on. I don't want to beat that with a horse. So I do think Riot Act deserves its place right now. I also do think that, I think Pearl Jam's, I assume they're working on a new album based off some of the things coming out, but nothing's official. I would assume that's going to be heavily political. But I don't know. What do you think, Dave, are we going to see when it comes to potential comebacks, welcome backs? You're here again for this upcoming shows?
Maybe some binaural or maybe some backspacer. They're gonna get back to some of those, perhaps. That's my feel.
Now, are you looking at stats and statistics based off of previous ways they've played in the past that would lead us up to think those two, or is that just a feeling that you have?
That's a feeling that I have. I mean, yeah, there are, in the last couple of years, they're kind of low on binaural, kind of low on backspacer. But then again, like, yeah. So the numbers don't lie.
The numbers don't lie, but they could. I mean, the thing.
I could just change.
There were 900 versions of no code songs played last year. That's the truth.
So there is something that I started to look into, and I'm not 100% on this because I waited till today to it came into my mind, and it was like, how did the Grateful Dead because a lot of people show how the Grateful Dead kind of did their set list, and as they aged, how things changed a little bit for them. Like, how did that reflect to like how Pearl Jam's doing things? And the Grateful Dead, as they got older, a little bit changed in how they toured and things. And of course, they still went on a much larger scale on touring than Pearl Jam ever will. And their shows still continued, but they did start, as the older they got, they started like the albums kind of fell off and they started playing more random things. And I'm like, well, can Pearl Jam do that? But I think they can't, because of the way they have acted over the last few years, where Pearl Jam is not just the band, it's a business. And if you want people to continue to come to your shows, you still have to play 25% of your show has to be those common songs, majority some sort of songs that people are going to be able to sing to that don't know the rest. Because there's going to be people that go to these shows that just they don't know anything after, I don't know, fucking no code.
Probably. Yeah. I think there's a serious issue almost with the people that attend Pearl Jam shows, because you're right. There isn't really an in-between. It's either hardcore fan knows the whole entire disc, can sing every single lyric in their catalog, or it's like the fan that saw that they were in town, got tickets from a friend, and they know Even Flow Alive, Jeremy, Better Man, Ledbetter, Last Kiss, and will be sitting on their ass for most of the rest of the show.
Yeah.
I noticed that from a lot of crowds that, unfortunately I am around some people at some of these shows that like just won't sing. They won't get up. They'll sit. Apparently sitting is a really big thing at shows now. And I don't understand it. Like if you go to some shows, people are telling you if you're standing up, oh, please sit down so I can see.
You know what it is though?
No, what is it?
It's we're getting older. Like gravity is doing a number on us. They are, gravity is pulling us down. Don't you?
That's my boomer take. Like, just be a man and tough it out when you're at a concert. Come on, it's only 2 hours. Then you can go to sleep. You can rest it off. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, there has been I don't know. I mean, I can't think of. I most of my shows I even stand up for. I mean, but yeah, there's people. There's a large portion of the population that they feel as though I pay for this ticket. It is a seat. If I want to sit, I should sit. The person in front of me, and I always feel bad because I'm 6'17", and I'm taller than most people. Like you're not really seeing past me most times. But yeah, no, it is what it is. I don't know, but I do agree with you. There is a lot more people sitting, and there is that jump off of things. So it's like, it brings me to the point where it's like, are they gonna dig deep into these shows? Are these shows? Here's the question: are these shows the business side of Pearl Jam, where they're playing for the business side? You're gonna get they're gonna play different songs every show. You know that's just Pearl Jam. Like Pearl Jam's never gonna change that. They're not gonna change the way they are. But are we gonna get the Pearl Jam where they're like, hey, let's play Bugs tonight. Anyone got an accordion? Let's just go out there, fucking play Bugs. Or are we gonna get the band? It's like, all right, well, we know that we didn't play Jeremy last show, and we're going to play Jeremy this show because we didn't put it out, and it's a popular song, and Alive was played first night. We'll do Even Flow tonight. We'll make sure we get that hit in there. Okay, well, hey, Wreckage is being played on majority of the baseball games that are going on around town, and the hockey they're pushing was called Waiting for Stevie. I'm just throwing out names. Like, we got to make sure those are being played because that's what's out there. And is that what we're getting? Because realistically, honestly, dude, when the last couple tours, that's kind of, you heard the song on TV. It was being played majority of the time. So what are we going to get? That's going to be interesting. And like I said, Hollywood 1 and 2 is going to say a lot for what are we expecting, what's going to come.
Yeah, outside of like Hunger Strike, Grammy, and Whale Song, we did not get a whole lot of like unbelievable surprises.
I always forget about Grammy and Well Song. The fact that they fucking actually played those, but once again, they played it. They played it in an environment that was a festival built by Eddie Vedder, and 99% of the people that were there were rabid Pearl Jam fans that are travelers, because it wasn't like it was a place next door. It was a rabid Pearl Jam fan base. But think about it.
You talk to some people; they were around people that did not know those songs.
Well, that's interesting. But but dude. A few years ago, they sold $500 fucking rugs for Pearl Jam that people had to ship home, and it's sold out in a short period of time. So, rabid fans, you're not selling Pearl Jam rugs that need to be shipped home in Raleigh, North Carolina, in my opinion.
Probably
well,
not.
Don't you get one of everything? Didn't you get rug? Yeah,
I did not get a rug, and I'm going to be very, very truthful with you, and this could be a lead up into the next topic, but I have. So, as you can tell from the studio, it is much different than the last time I started doing shows, and we have gone through a lot. I mean, like the poster tube that's, I don't know if you can even see it, but where is it? This way. There is like a fucking 4-foot poster tube over there of the extra large print I got in Seattle that I'm framing up that is literally going to cost like a mortgage payment to frame up. I have way too much. And it's crazy that I say that. But I am finding tubs of stuff that I have too much of. And yeah, it brings back memories, but in the same sense too, like, I literally have a Tupperware bin that is 16 inches by 9 inches. That's like 8 inches deep, full of fucking pins from shows I've been to that I'll never do nothing with. I have posters in a flat file that they'll never see the light of day. I have hundreds, if not thousands, of Pearl Jam shirts, and I've gone on a bender here recently on eBay selling a shit ton of them, and I still have hundreds, if not thousands, of shirts that I'll never wear. I have hats, these Pearl Jam hats. I have 3 or 4 of them. I have that fucking evil little goat hat over there that I've owned since day one. It doesn't even fit my head. What am I doing with it? Yeah, Anthony is not doing one of everything anymore. I have retired that as of last tour. This is. It will not happen again. And it's not a financial thing. I can afford it. It's the fact that the older I get, it's not about the material. It's about the memories. And while, like, I have some, like, this wall over here used to be all Pearl Jam. And now I was like, I had all these posters of, like, the Jack White show, or my Morning Jacket signed poster, or that My Morning Jacket, or Temple of the Dog, or Roger Waters, or Queens of the Stone Age, or Les Claypool, like all these posters. It's like, I have those. And I'm like, they're not even seeing the light of day. And there's some posters that I'm very attached to, like my DC Ripper, or like my set list that I got. Man, I pointed right the fuck at that. That was awesome. Did you see that? I literally pointed.
I saw that. You're right in the middle.
Right. It's fucking perfect. That was dunzo. But like that, the set list with like the Baltimore, like there's some things that like are just meaningful to me. But like realistically, like these fucking Houston, like these Dallas like bandanas, dude. If you saw how many I have in a fucking drawer, like I don't even know why I bought so many of these fucking bandanas. I literally have probably 15 of those damn bandanas for each night, just sitting in a drawer. What am I doing with these things? Those are probably going to be leaving soon too, because I just don't have room for other things. So yeah, so two of everything.
If you want to get rid of your pins and stickers, send them my way, because that is part of my collection. So,
well, we can chat later.
Done.
We can chat. But now, when I say I'm getting rid of things, I'm also selling a lot of my shit. Like I'm not just giving it away to give it away. But for you, Randy, I mean, we've had our intimate moments before. I feel like I owe you something. We'll figure it out.
I'll pay you back.
And here's the thing too. And this will lead. Appreciate it. And this will lead into topic 5, and we're gonna have to wrap up a little bit because I have to get up early for work. This is the other issue with playing 2 shows in one city: 2 posters, 2 T-shirts, 2 stickers, 2 pins. There's going to be a themed skateboard of something. There's going to be a themed hat of something. So that's 10 items. If you're going to both shows, 10 items. And if you are someone that's got to be a collector, that's 10 items. That's not including the regular T-shirts. That's not including the regular stickers. That's not including the regular pins. That's not including whatever random, beanie, hoodie, sweatshirt, all that stuff. Doesn't include that. This all started to transpire in 2016 in Boston. Fenway, I'll never forget how much merchandise was there and how much they kept pushing that. And this past tour was brutal with so much extra merchandise. The hats, the skateboards, this, the extras. Seattle had how many fucking posters for 2 shows?
It's a lot.
It is an abundance. And listen, I understand that that's the business side of it. And that's not even Pearl Jam. That's Mr. T-shirt, because that's his doing. He gets the name for Pearl Jam. He gets everything. He puts it through. I get it. And I don't knock him for it. People are going to buy it. Don't knock him for it's down. But in the same sense, too, when you do so much, it devalues what it is. And it's like, I see you have the Kong on your back wall. They just don't make posters like that anymore. They don't make the poster like the Reaper poster. It's just
It was an okay point.
When was the last time that we were knocked off our socks, wowed with a poster? And now, which one?
Right there, the Philly, not the green Philly, that one.
Oh, okay, I would disagree. I'm not a big fan. But
Really?
Yeah, no.
That just won awards.
Yeah, well, I mean,
I know awards are bullshit sometimes,
Yeah.
but
I would think that there's a lot of other artists out there that put out some stuff, but what art is an interpretation of how you feel when it makes you feel for it, right? Like a lot of people hate this Jack White poster, one of the most hated Jack White posters in the world. I love this thing. It's just part of the interpretation side of things. But you're now getting an abundance of stuff that I feel is mediocre compared to getting a less amount of things that were more solid. If you look at the quality of stuff that's come out for Pearl Jam over the last couple years and how we're getting more of it, I would rather go back to 2006 where you had 8 shirts instead of the 20 shirts. And you had, now I will say this, in 2006, those shirts didn't fit fucking nobody. Their extra larges were like smalls. Their double XLs were like mediums. It was brutal, but I digress. But I prefer getting the DC Reaper in 2006. That's all you got. They didn't really have a lot of other stuff that was themed for it. Than getting 10 items over 2 nights. And I guarantee you, not a single one of those items over any of these over these basis shows are ever going to hold true to what they were able to get quality over quantity. That's just my opinion.
And I agree.
Well, you know what? Hold on a second. Hold on one second. Where is it? Give me a second. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
No, there's certain like posters. I'm an artist myself. So when I see a poster and I'm like, okay, I always gravitate towards like one poster and I'm like, I want that. And like, if I go to a show, I am more about going in the city, doing things, hanging out with my brother, doing this and that. I don't want to be standing in line first thing in the morning going for that one poster, because by the time I'm getting there, like, oh, the poster's sold out. I'm like, oh, well, I'm probably not going to be hanging it up anyway. Like, so there's so many posters that I'm like, I wish I had that. And I think the first time I ever got a Pearl Jam poster was because of you, Anthony.
Really?
You sent me a bunch of posters because I won something like years ago when I put in my name for Throwing Fan Live, and you sent me like 5 Boston posters.
Oh, this is
and you didn't know who I was back then.
Contrary to what people make me out to be in this community, I am not that big of an asshole. I just want to put it out there. It is what it is. But I will say the only positive side about sitting in line for merchandise is I do get to catch up on my court TV shows. So you know, there's that. There is that. All right,
Documented in the Seattle documentary. Yes.
I still think I was just talking, you know, because YouTube just put out like People's Court. And I just redid. So I have a work cart where I have like I have this like, it looks like an iPad. It's just a screen and hooks up to like a computer. So I'm doing some stuff. And as I'm working on things, sometimes I'll just log into like whatever. And YouTube just put up all these People Court shows. I'm literally walking around the airport like a week ago for hours working on some stuff in the airport. And I'm literally having People's Court like on the screen in my headphones as I'm walking around. And people are just staring at me like, what the fuck's this guy doing walking around in a cart with this 16-inch monitor watching People's Court as I walk around? But that is the life of Anthony for sure. But yeah, that moment in time in Seattle will the amount of people totally heavily involved in the cases was good memory. Better than the merchandise I bought at that show. I'll tell you that for sure. So, but let's put a bow on this. I do like the idea. So the last show for this tour is going to be the May 18th, which is basically about 2 months away. I think it'd be great to do a statistics show on this. One thing I think I'm going to do, just because I feel like there's a better value in proof of things, I am going to do a generational breakdown of the first 10 years, the second 10 years, and the third 10 years, and now, so 4 times of like the posters, their value, and they're wanted. So you can look at, and of course the first 10 years are going to be the most valuable because they're so limited, but I want to see the difference in the want, how much they go for sale now compared to what they were sale for. Because I will say this too, if anybody knows anything about Pearl Jam merchandise, if you are a flipper, you have 48 hours. Once you get that poster, if you want the most money for it now, in the last 10 years, you sell it in 48 hours. If you do not, you're going to sit on it like I have sat on the 2018, which I'm pretty sure that's probably what I sent you because I have too many of them, Boston Fenway prints, because I have so many of those fucking things in a flat file that I probably can build a house with them.
And none of them were that great.
I disagree with you. Wait, was it 18? 18 had the Wicked. I'm actually looking at the Wicked Witch.
The Witch was okay. I have the Mumford, which is okay. Then there was one with like it was like a Paul Revere one, which they basically did the same thing last year.
I know. I have that one. Yeah.
I don't know. Well, a lot of people hate. You know what? A lot of people hate that I love. One of my favorite ones. I don't know if you can see it over there. The Hampton over there, Hampton Coliseum.
Yeah, that's not one of my favorites.
Do you know that Pearl Jam ruined that artist? Zio Ziegler does not do any more concert posters after he did that show. He did a second one, and he got so much hate online. He removed himself from social media for the longest time.
Really?
Oh yeah, it's brutal. I tried to get him on the show. He talked about it. He said, "I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to relive it." He was not happy. So,
wow.
Yeah. But listen, let me get some background music. I'm gonna play a new song I like. Where is it? There we go. Dave, do you want to promote anything before we head off?
Livefootsteps.org. You know, they tours coming up. You know, log in, put in your shows. You know, get the stats. Follow me live. You know, I'll be staying up. Setting the set list as it happens. You know, figure out what's the rarities and the new songs that are popping up during the set lists every night of the tour 2025.
And they could donate money to you too, right?
And that is true. You can donate right off the front page.
There you go. So donate to him. Randy, anything you want to promote besides the trailer we saw, which we're all excited about next Friday?
Yeah. The movie will be out next Friday for sure. Donate money to me as well on our Patreon. Need to pay my salary, need to, rent a car for a lot of days in Florida, and the support absolutely helps. And also you get the extra episodes, and, Javier and I had some good conversations with the town hall people last week of just what we should be doing for the future. And one of those things was finding out what kind of content that people want to hear over on Patreon. And we are in a good direction to get you more of that. So stuff like, pre-episode teasers, and then, getting more gear garages, and there'll be other little things here and there to throw out there. But as these 11 shows come up, we will be doing the reaction episodes for every single episode. I will say that on Patreon, we are changing the tier prices. So please, if you're interested now in getting grandfathered in at a lower price, do it now. Forever hold your peace, because once we get to April, it's not going to be like that anymore. We're gonna bump up the price. So just letting you know now. And yeah, that's patreon.com/live on 4 legs. We could use the support.
Well, give money to these guys. I'm good. I don't need money. So you save your money for me, give it to them. Next Wednesday, Let's Talk Vinyl with me and Trey. We're going to be talking about our favorite cover songs from Pearl Jam that other artists have played. And then the following week, me and Brian Meth will be back with another necessary list where we're going to be talking about music documentaries, more information coming on out. Until next time, my name is Anthony. That's Dave. That's Randy. Give them money. Don't give me money. And you just listened to Destined to Remember.